Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hey, this is Rob Charning, Old Guy Tech TV, and we are here for August 14th, 2013. I'm with Sheriff John DeAugustini. John, once again, thank you very much for showing up, as you always do. You are our man. We really appreciate it. And so, as we know, elections are in full swing. We're getting ready to do it and get the stuff ready and make sure that you get the re-election campaign moving. And so that's why John's kind of casual today. He's out campaigning and he's working hard. So we're glad to have you, and thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you.
We had an opportunity. It was interesting. We had a couple of people that wrote us that watched our taped version of the shows and had a couple of questions. And I'm going to start with one in particular. And this gentleman is curious about your views on medical marijuana, and in particular about the size allotments, the amount of money that's being expended on enforcing these laws, and that type of thing. So what can you share with us?
Well, I'll give you the whole spiel. I was in law enforcement in 1996, obviously, when Proposition 215 was passed, and the voters approved Proposition 215, the Compassionate Use Act.
Right.
Unfortunately, a couple things. The resulting law of that, 11.362.5, was ridiculous.
Yeah.
My son could have written a better law than that.
Okay.
At the time, and he was, I believe, third grade. It was very confusing. It was very hard, difficult to enforce, and it was by design that way. Mm-hmm. What the people voted for was, and the propaganda at the time was those folks that are seriously ill,
right, where
marijuana provides
some relief. Right.
And they had, cancer patients and folks with severe disabilities and whatever it was.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not what we got. Now, the legislature tried to, I believe it was 03 or somewhere around there, tried to legislate some reasonableness into the law under the MMPA, Medical Marijuana Protection Act. Mm-hmm. However, that was shortly thereafter overturned because you can't legislate a proposition.
Okay.
You can't legislate what the voters had already approved. So many of the things in that we lost. So we're back to 11.362.5. We got some of the other things that came in the MMPA are still intact, but it still comes down to what's reasonable. Now, mm-hmm. I don't have a problem. If the people voted for it in the spirit of Proposition 215, if somebody has a serious ailment and marijuana provides that relief, God bless them. I mean, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. That's the spirit of Proposition 215. But when I see a 16, 17, 22-year-old kid, male or female, that gets a doctor's recommendation for a bunion,
right,
or anxiety, or a hangnail, or whatever it is,
right,
and they're growing 100 plants, they don't work, they go snowboarding all winter, they have brand new cars, they have a brand new home that they paid cash for, they're selling to the 15 and 16-year-olds down the street. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's being abused. A lot of my career was in the narcotics field, in investigating narcotics violation, the Uniform Controlled Substance Act, and state laws as well. And, they can't argue the fact that those people or young adults that are users of marijuana, they have lower drive. They typically don't want to work. They don't need to work. Mm-hmm. It's been proven that in the development stages of the brain that it hinders that. They have lower IQs. I don't care what anybody says. It is addicting. And it is a gateway drug. I firmly believe that.
So, would you believe that alcohol is a gateway drug?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
And
I
that's
will
one of
say
those
that.
arguments that
Absolutely.
they throw
I will
out there.
say that as well.
Yeah.
And it goes along this line. I've interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of users and addicts
Right.
that are, and I've spoken to those that all they've ever smoked was marijuana, and all they've ever drank was alcohol.
Right.
But virtually every hard drug addict, cocaine, methamphetamine, pills, whatever it is,
They started somewhere.
started with either marijuana and or
Alcohol or both or
and
right.
or exactly
Yeah.
or both, guaranteed. I mean, every
Right.
one of them,
Right.
every one I have ever interviewed. So when it comes to what's my position on medical marijuana, that is my position on it. I think that it is a problem. If you look at the increased levels of crime around dispensaries, if you look at the increased levels of crime around grows,
And that's what people don't talk about.
people don't talk about that. Well, because that agenda doesn't want to hear about that.
Right. Right.
It does bring a different crowd. Like I said, most of them don't work. They don't want to work. They just want to get high. And they say it's to help me with my medical ailment. Baloney. Most of them just want to do it because they want to get high. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't those out there. I know other folks that they do. They smoke marijuana because they're sick. There's something
Right.
wrong with them.
Right.
And it gives them that relief. But it is totally abused. And the perfect example is when and with the dispensaries, we're helping the sick. We're helping those that need it.
Right.
They have safe and affordable access. However, without fail, every case I have ever heard of a case being built on a dispensary when they're selling to more than just legitimate cannabis patients.
Right.
They'll sell somebody be a legitimate cannabis patient and they'll sell them 2 pounds, knowing that this person's reselling.
Yeah.
They have to
yeah,
know that.
Yeah. But they're not
But-
supposed to be able to sell that much, right?
They
Isn't
can
there a
sell-
limit?
They can sell whatever's reasonable.
Okay, so it's the
Whatever's
interpretation of reasonable.
Reasonable.
Oh,
And there's
boy.
some other parts of the law, and I can talk about that too, that hampers us a bit in those regards. But when you build a case on a dispensary, and a perfect example is one in L.A., and they're almost all like this. At least everyone I've ever heard of has been like this. So
Right.
I would assume that they're all like this.
Okay.
Okay. Served a search warrant on the business, the dispensary business. We pay our taxes. We're above board. And here's our books.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, your books look good. Open the safe. There's $7 million in cash in the safe. They're claiming $358,000 a year in income that they're paying taxes on.
Right.
But yet there's
It's
$7
a
million
million and
cash in the safe.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Okay. So that didn't jive.
ridiculous. That
Yeah.
doesn't jive. One of the problems that we have we used to have, and we're now, some of the laws are starting to overcome that. One recent one, and I can't remember the name of it, has overcome part of it, is let's say my narcotics detectives went out and a person had 100 plants.
Okay.
Or let's say they had a 99 plant recommendation from a doctor. You can grow 99 plants under this ailment that you have.
Okay.
So they'll go out, and
Excuse
this
me.
person's got a pretty good green thumb, and they got 99 plants, and they're 2-pound plants.
Okay.
Okay, so that's 198 pounds of marijuana that they're going to get. That's unreasonable. The problem is if my deputies, my narcotics investigators, confiscated all that marijuana, and the person was hauled into court and was found not guilty, which juries very rarely now convict on marijuana cases, unfortunately,
Yeah.
because they bring all that agenda side
Oh,
up
sure,
and the
right,
expert
right.
witnesses, and it was just marijuana. Then we have to return
All
the
that.
marijuana.
Right.
Well, we don't return marijuana.
Right.
So then you look at, okay, what do we have to return and what do we get sued for? We get sued for the value of that marijuana. 198 pounds at $4,000 a pound, you figure it out.
Wow.
So that was the big problem. We had to make sure we had real tight cases, which usually is very simple because it's not just marijuana.
Okay.
They also have methamphetamine.
Okay.
They also have OxyContin.
Right.
They also have all kinds of other
Anything that's not prescribed for them, but
illicit
they're using to
drugs.
get high.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Was there something in this law? It was like 4 foot by 4 foot diameter garden. Wasn't there a dimension in there? For some
Now, the
reason,
county,
I thought
well,
there
the
was.
county is in the process now of finalizing an ordinance. The county is operating under 2 urgency ordinances at the current time,
Okay.
and they are due to expire here in November, I believe. Under those urgency ordinances, the one regarding dispensary is pretty simple, very clear. No new medical marijuana dispensaries in the county, because there are ones that are operating currently.
Okay. I have no
few.
idea.
There are a few.
Just
So, no new medical marijuana dispensaries. And then the other one was the cultivation ordinance.
okay.
And it limited, as it is now, it's 200 square feet. It has to be enclosed within a 6 to 8 foot secure opaque fence.
Okay.
Um,
That's a lot of space. You can grow.
200 square feet.
Yeah.
Well, the other side is arguing that that's not enough.
Yeah, well.
That's not enough. I can't grow enough marijuana in 200 square feet. So the county right now is in the process of finalizing. It's in the planning commission right now. Final ordinances, permanent ordinances. It will be I believe no medical marijuana dispensaries at all. Definitely no new ones. And then the cultivation, it lays out, it takes into account zoning. If you're zoned R1, R2, R5, or whatever,
Yeah.
you can have no more than 200 square feet. But if you live on 100 acres and you want to have a collective or cooperative,
Oh, I see. Okay.
no more than 3 patients, 200, 400, or 600 square feet.
Wow.
200 for 1 patient, 200 for 2 patients, or 400 for 2 patients, and 600 for 3 patients, no more than that. You have to be a resident. You have to live there.
Yeah.
So no more of this rentals coming up, renting a house, renting
Right,
a property,
just to grow
and
it.
putting it in a garden.
But okay, now I'm confused. You're not a doctor. Tell me how this works. I mean, if you're growing for your own use, that's one thing. But now if you're doing a co-op and you're growing for not only you but others, how do you? They're able to sell it?
No, you cannot sell marijuana. You
Okay.
cannot make a profit off of it.
Okay. So
The
what do
law
they do?
states you're allowed to recoup your expenses. But
Oh.
that is all. We got a caller.
We got a caller. Put your head. So, well, let's get the caller. Hi, you're on with Rob and John DiAgostini.
Hello, Rob. Am I on now?
Yeah, you're live.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you for taking my call. I just had a question for Sheriff in regards to what he's talking about. I've got an issue in our neighborhood where one of our neighbors does not work. Car never leaves. I don't know what's going on, but probably minimum 6 days a week. Friends are over there and have parties almost every single day. It's now gotten to the point where I'm sick of calling the police because they just come, they turn the music down, then they go back to doing it again. But I'm curious as far as what can I do without filing a complaint every single time, or what can the police do, as the sheriff's office can do, to maybe look into this further? Because kind of like alluding to exactly, if people are over every single day, the guy doesn't work, something's got to be going on. I don't know what specifically, but I'm just at wit's end with me and my wife and my kids too, of trying to figure out what we can do.
Sure. Yeah, we can understand that. So, John, what's your suggestion?
Well, first of all, do you live in the city or in the county?
In the county.
You do live in the county. And how many times have you reported this?
It's probably been, I'd have to say on a weekly basis, at one time for almost 2 months straight.
Okay. And
And
how long
then-
ago was that?
That was probably, we stopped calling probably about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Because nothing was happening. What's happening?
So it's fairly recent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, is there a grow there that you see or you smell, or you're just assuming?
You do smell it. You don't see it. There is no grow. You see it all. What's weird is it doesn't work. That for sure I know. But people, I'm not kidding, minimum 5, 6 days a week with the garage open, hanging out, laughing, yelling, that kind of thing. and just going, okay, I just kind of that wit's end of going, what can we potentially do? Our kids can't go to sleep because of the noise, and then, it's that kind of thing. And we've done everything from come over to speak to him, talk, everything we could possibly do, and now it's just to the point of going, there's got to be something going on there. What's our next course?
Right. Well, number one, and can I use, what's your first name? We don't need your last name.
Sure. My first name's Tom.
Tom. What I would suggest, Tom, is number one, don't stop calling. Keep calling. I hate to say this, but the old adage, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Number two, email me if you don't mind. Do you do email?
Sure.
Give me an email at John, John, dot D'Agostini, Dagostini, at edso.org. And I will make sure that the information gets to to the different investigation divisions that can look at it. Typically, it sounds like, yeah, they're growing, there's parties going on, but usually there's other issues. Are there children at the residence, little kids?
No.
Just
No.
just young adults?
They're basically in their early 40s, I'd have to say.
Oh, sir.
Oh, okay.
The
Wow.
majority of them.
Okay.
That's what's so surprising. And it's such a quiet neighborhood. And it's the only house in, I'd say, about 4-block range you'd ever see this going on.
Okay.
But it's nonstop, probably for the last, I'd say, 8 years.
Right. Well, I would suggest that you don't stop calling. You keep calling, and then shoot me that email, and I'll forward it on to the different divisions and see if they can look into it a little bit closer.
Tom, I'll make sure that there's a link on our website to John's email as well.
Oh, I appreciate that as well. Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Thank
Well,
you,
keep,
Tom.
like the sheriff said, keep calling, and, let's see if we can't get you some help.
Okay, that would be great. I know that one of the officers is really nice, and they always been very nice when I talk to them. One of the things that they've offered is to me to file a personal complaint, but then I just didn't want to deal with going to court and them having it see us, and I think that would just escalate the problem.
You know what? I totally understand when you get involved and your name's put to something. I know you can be worried about your security and your children's welfare and all that. So, unfortunately, a lot of times that's what we need is somebody to step up and do it. But I do understand your situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Well,
Tom.
Hey, thank you very much for calling.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Have a great day.
Take care. So, he brought up some really, really good points. We were talking about the grow, and well, let's step back for a second because I want to understand this. We were talking about the co-op situation, and how does that work now? You got property, and you can grow for personal use if you have a certain amount of acreage or land, right, and it's zoned in the right situation. Then you said you can grow up to 3. Was that
2, 4, 6.
2, 4, 6?
Up to three cooperative users, collective users.
Okay, all right.
So, and each one has to have their doctor's recommendation posted with their name, their address, their contact information, with the doctor's name, the doctor's contact information, and
Right.
the patient's ID number, so that we can confirm that when we show up.
Okay.
And what the ordinance is it's not only lays out things clear for the medicinal growers, but it also makes our job easy. There's quite a bit of marijuana that is being grown in El Dorado County.
Oh yeah.
Both the backyard grows for the medicinal use and the obvious cartel drug grows
Right,
up
right.
in the forest and then in the ag land.
So this, so I have it straight in my mind. If a person grows just for themselves,
200 square feet.
they still need a doctor's whatever that card is.
Doctor's recommendation.
So
It's not a prescription
Yeah.
because you can't prescribe
Right.
controlled
Substance.
Schedule 1 controlled substance. You can't prescribe it.
Okay.
So it's a recommendation.
Okay, and that's called a 214. Is that what it is?
215 card.
215 card.
215, whatever they call it.
Yeah, whatever they call it, I don't know.
Typical.
So that person has to have that to grow his own marijuana.
Yes.
And then all those other people in the co-op also have to have all that information.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you come under that would be for a collective. Now, as a primary caregiver, let's say you have somebody in your family that has a medical marijuana card, and you are going to grow their marijuana as well as your marijuana, okay? Or a friend even. You have to fall within the definition of primary caregiver.
Okay.
And that has to be somebody that does more for the day-to-day care of that individual besides just growing their marijuana.
Right.
You better be having to take them to the doctor's appointments. You got to do their grocery shopping. You have to cook for them. You have to clean for them. You're
the
their
normal
caregiver
caregiver stuff. Right.
Exactly. But
Right.
typically, what we see is I'm growing 3 gardens,
Right.
and I'm a collective for 3. There's me, and I'm growing these other 2 because I'm their primary caregiver. But all they're doing is growing their dope.
Right.
That's it.
Right. So that's probably, you got Tom brings up a real good point, and I from the sounds of it, sounds like he's in a neighborhood where the homes are fairly close together. It's not rural like we are. He brings up a good point, and I understand being nervous, to
absolutely.
file a complaint.
Sure, I can understand that.
Yeah, there's
I
bad
can
guys
understand
out
that.
there, and
I understand that.
yeah, and some people can't stand up to that. So this is where we really rely on your department,
Yes.
to step in and help.
Keep in mind, I mean, they're, and when I said we look at all other issues, I mean, we get code enforcement involved.
Right.
There are code issues there.
Right.
I asked if there were kids there. We get CPS involved. The Drug
Right.
Endangered Children program is huge in the state.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are victims that
Yeah,
are there
absolutely.
that can't really speak for themselves. They don't speak for themselves.
And a lot of times there's dogs. You
Dogs,
might get
yeah,
animal control involved.
and everything else. Yeah, so we look at it, look at it from not just through one lens.
Right.
Get everybody involved and see. And unfortunately, there are those times where they're doing everything, they're trying to do everything right. Now, it sounds like there's noise issues here. We can deal with that
Exactly.
and all that stuff.
Right.
But, like I said, we're
It's-
not out trying to
Yeah,
deal with
yeah.
those that are legitimately ill,
right.
where marijuana provides relief.
Right.
But the abuses are off the charts.
Yeah.
And even the marijuana community, the people that are pro Prop 215 and pro medical marijuana, they know that, and they've admitted that in different hearings and different meetings.
Sure.
They understand that.
Right.
And many of them say, we don't want that stuff because it does bring bad names to the rest of us that just want to legitimately grow our medicine. But it comes down to, I think one of your questions was leading to the reasonableness. What is reasonable?
Right.
And it's, unfortunately, can be somewhat subjective. So we try and make it as objective as possible. And the way that I used to do it, and I know my guys do it sometimes, and here's just a simple example. In the interview with the suspect, with the individual, so how do you use your marijuana? Well, I smoke it. How do you smoke it? I smoke it in a pipe. How many times a day do you smoke a pipe? 3 times a day. You smoke a pipe 3 times a day. Full bowl? Full bowl, 3 times a day. Okay, load a bowl for me. And have them load a bowl for you.
Yeah.
And then take it out and weigh it. Times that by 3, times that by 365. Now we have an objective, reasonable amount, maybe 10, 15% more, and say that for the whole year they need 1.5 pounds. But they have 10 plants that are nice plants, and they're going to put out 2 pounds.
Right.
You got too much weed. What do you do with your excess? Well, I don't ever have that. Well, what do you do with your excess? Well, I give it away. You give it away. Who do you give it to? Well, I'm not going to say. Have you ever sold any to the clubs? Well, yeah, I've done that to cover my costs. Now we got a problem.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee that $4,000 a pound, or $3,000, or even $1,500 a pound, they're getting more than what it cost them
Oh yeah.
to grow that marijuana.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's complicated. It's tough, but the ordinances will give us a tool in El Dorado County, and my guys a tool to be able to, for the most part, roll out to a call, see what the issue is, and I'll be honest with you, we pretty much only respond on a complaint basis. That's all that they really have time for.
Right.
And if they walk out and the patient's placard is up, it's got all the information there. It's a 10 by 16 plot So 160 square feet, and there's 6 plants or 8 plants or 10 plants in there, and they call this person on the phone and say, "Hey, I see we're here at your garden. You're posted. Everything's good. It looks good so far. Yep. Here's my doctor's. You got my doctor's information there. Call him. Call the doctor. Yep. You got severe irritable bowel syndrome, and it seems it's working for them. Good enough. 10-8. We're done. We go away. We got other more important stuff to deal with. But I mean, those go fast. My guys are focused on. I mean, they're doing big cases. They're doing big gardens.
So let's talk about that. How would one assume that if an individual can grow X amount for personal use, and the pot smokers out there, they did that to a certain degree, would that not have an effect on the ability for these cartels to make all this big money they're making? Just
I don't understand your question.
so what I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, so if there's a way of getting the Mexican cartels that are growing marijuana, selling heroin, and doing all that stuff, if an individual can, even if he lived in an apartment, could grow a plant or 2 plants or whatever he wants for himself.
So he didn't have to rely on that black market marijuana?
Right.
There's always going to be a black market marijuana in California.
Okay.
I guarantee it. If we totally legalize marijuana, you're not going to get rid of the cartel grows in the forest. It's
Okay,
not
so
gonna happen.
that was going to questions, because I was going to go to what happened with alcohol and
Prohibition
and all that.
Not going to happen.
So if we legalized it, what if we went the other way? What if we treated it like tobacco, where now you're a company, you grow it, you package it, you license it, you tax it, and you sell it.
We've said that.
Do you think that would work?
No, you're still going to have the illicit use in the black market. It's
And why-
still going to be there.
Really?
Yeah, because it's too easy to grow. It's too easy. And there's
Uh-huh.
always going to be a demand for it. Even if it's totally legal, there's always going to be a demand for it. Think if you could grow tobacco in your backyard and roll it as easy as you can and sell it as easy as you can marijuana, nobody would pay the price they're paying for Marlboros.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
But it's just so
It's
easy.
because you can't. Tobacco plants are not easy to grow and
They're not
process
easy to
and all
grow
that.
here,
Versus
and,
a weed.
and you got to roll them and put the filter on them and all that other stuff. Marijuana is a unique situation where the culture is such that there will always be a black market.
That's
There will
interesting.
always, and that's my opinion.
Sure.
I don't think I've read stories, but there will always be a black market for marijuana.
Yeah.
Always, because if they do that, they're going to have it a certain THC level. And these growers now, I mean, they say that the cliche is, "This ain't your daddy's weed."
Oh.
Back in the
I never
70s,
heard
it was
that.
back in the 70s, it was 4-6% THC was the good stuff.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing THC levels 30, 35, 36, 34%.
Wow.
It is unbelievable. It's crazy. It's very, very potent stuff today. Through crossbreeding, through hybridization, and the manners and styles of growing that they're doing with the different fertilizers and hydroponics and everything else.
Well, that just means they need less then.
Controlling
right?
the light. Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean,
They
if
get
it's so,
so-
if it's so,
They
I
get
mean,
so stoned.
oh my
they're
gosh.
useless. These people are just they're
well, the other side of it, they're not doing the stop and robs and things, right?
No, not until that's not enough, and then they want to try some heroin.
Well, see, and that's
know.
always the case. You never know.
So
Yeah.
it's a whole, like I said, the culture is such that there will always be a black market.
So I think that one of the arguments that you hear an awful lot, though, is the amount of money that we're spending to enforce marijuana laws. There's that community out there says, stop enforcing marijuana laws, focus on the harder drugs, and spend that money for that. Does that make any sense?
Well, we do both.
Okay.
We do both, and typically, like I said, when you roll across a illicit marijuana garden, that is obviously more than anyone needs, and it's a commercial grow. There's typically other drugs involved: methamphetamine, heroin, MDMA, ecstasy, and weapons, everything else that goes along with it, with the trade. So the war on drugs, I think, has been I think it's been successful. I
Okay.
think the amount of money that gets spent on the drug wars, we'll call it a drug war.
Sure.
It's not really a war, but it's a maintenance issue, I believe, compared to other enforcement funds that are expended. It's I believe, in my opinion, very reasonable. We can't stop if we turn our back on it. I mean, look at this gentleman here. He has complaints with his
Oh, yeah.
neighbors.
Just
Well,
imagine
that's
now.
going to go on.
Yeah.
That's gonna compound. We're gonna have those issues all the time. We have to continue this battle. We have to keep fighting it, just like we have to continue the battle on spousal abuse and on bank robbery and on burglary. You have to keep. That's what we have as a society. Because when you're using drugs, you're using marijuana, you're using other drugs or whatever, you are infringing on other people's rights by not being a productive member of society
Oh, I see. That's interesting.
at that time.
Well, people, I mean, I've heard the argument, and I guess there's countries in Europe where they have a different view on drugs.
Amsterdam? That's
Maybe.
one of the biggest fallacies that out there. If you go to Amsterdam and you look around and you look at the social cost and you look at the heroin addicts that are in every alley and in every corner because they have taken that laissez-faire attitude towards marijuana
Right.
and watch where it's gone, it's not what they portray.
Okay.
It's not.
Meaning,
Meaning the social costs are humongous. They're
Okay.
huge. They're the burglary rates to support for those that need to support their habit. The crime rates, they're through the roof. It
That's
is
interesting.
not what it is portrayed as.
yeah, yeah. So the real reason I'm trying to figure out on enforcing these illegal drug situations. I mean, it's something that most countries do, some don't. But we know that, okay, marijuana makes you stupid, okay? But the drugs of danger are meth, right? Crack, ice or whatever they call it. Heroin, I guess, is on the increase, I hear. And Huge.
Huge.
I don't understand this. I mean,
Because, well, part of it is, and this is proven with facts. There's studies been on this. The harm index, they call it.
okay.
And what that is let's say the harm index in high school students. In the 60s, if you asked 1,000 high school students, is marijuana bad for you? You would get 85% would say yes. The harm index has fallen. It's dropped. Is marijuana bad for you? Now it's maybe 50%. As a result, you see the use go
Okay.
up.
All right.
And not only in marijuana and alcohol,
Right.
but hard drugs.
Right.
So
Right.
as the harm as we as a society have said, marijuana, it's medicine. It's not a drug, it's medicine. The harm index has fallen, and therefore the use
Has risen.
has risen. And the social costs, I mentioned social costs with Amsterdam, and here as well, the social costs with treatment facilities and for the medical field and everything else that go along with it have risen exponentially as well. Those are facts.
Now, the other thing you caught my attention was we were talking about the dispensaries, and I have no clue how many dispensaries there are or even where they are in our county. But the ordinance was going to be passed that there cannot be any more, so that implies to me there's a certain number of it. But you said the law enforcement surrounding these dispensaries has caused you more time. You guys have to be there more. Is that right?
Yes.
And they have to be there more because of what reasons?
Because of the clientele. They hang out at all hours.
I see. Okay.
You get the suspicious persons calls. You get the vandalism calls in the area. You have those type of issues.
Okay, so then the people that surround these dispensaries are not necessarily shining star citizens, and what goes along in the shadow part is that you're going to find those people are going to be more involved with burglary or felonies of some type or assaults
Or even, like I said, misdemeanor vandalisms or
Okay.
loitering or stuff. I mean, think about it. You have 4 kids young adults. I won't say kids. 4 young adults. One gets a recommendation for a doctor's recommendation. Maybe he lives in a household where, and these maybe even be minors. Parents are a little bit more laxed or whatever. For whatever reason, this young adult gets a doctor's recommendation.
Okay.
He has 3 other friends that don't have it.
Okay.
Okay? Hey, I'm going to go
Get some.
go get some. You want to come with me? Sure. So they all go. He goes in. He buys an eighth of an ounce. He
Okay.
comes back out. Hey, man, I don't want to go back home. Let's just go around the corner and smoke a bowl right now. They go around, and it's hard on a community. It's tough on a community.
see.
Just like this gentleman that called, like
Right.
Tom.
Right. So now they bring everything along with them. Their garbage, their disease, their whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah. McDonald's bags.
McDonald's bags. Obviously, they're going to have the munchies, right? So.
That's what always. It was funny. We used to talk about this that when they started making the cars, or I guess they still do, that run on the oil.
Right.
From
French
the
fries. Oil.
French fry oil,
Yeah.
whatever, the discarded oil. And I said, can you imagine, because obviously that culture, and most of the ones that do the conversions, can you imagine driving around in a car that smells like French fries all the time with your doctor's, your medical marijuana?
Oh, wouldn't that be something? I'm hungry right now just talking about it. Well, I really think we have some good information out there about marijuana, and obviously this is going to go on and on and on, and it's something that's going to be interesting to see where society goes with it. Because my feeling now, the statement on gateway drug, I believe, is falling to the wayside. I think most people are beginning to say, okay, well, alcohol is, and why do you start smoking cigarettes, and that's going to lead you to more. So everything could kind of be a gateway to the next. So that argument's kind of going somewhere, but I don't know where it's going. But anyway, this is great. You gave me all kinds of information. I had no clue. I mean,
Good.
No idea.
That's
Yeah.
what I come in here.
That's what you come in there for. That's right. I had no idea about that. Hey, let's talk about the ugly word for most jails and sheriff's departments right now. And how's the situation with the realignment going? And obviously, our governor tried to do something, and the court said, nah, you got to let some of these guys go. What's happening with our jail and our situation in El Dorado County?
Well, we are still in good shape in El Dorado County. I think on the show we've talked about realignment, and El Dorado County is unique in that we have room at the end.
Right.
Now, those numbers are dwindling. Those free beds, those open beds are dwindling. We're still have enough free beds that we are still selling beds to Shasta County, Amador County, Alpine County. Trinity County just reached out to us a while ago asking for, Tehama County just reached out to us to ask about beds. And then I had somebody else the other day, Tuolumne County asked, Tuolumne, I believe it was, asked if I had beds. So we still have that ability.
That's not going to last long.
No,
though.
it's not going to last long, and it's actually it's lasted much longer than we had anticipated.
I see.
We're very blessed to be able to be in the situation we are now. As of Monday, I believe the numbers were 83 male beds open, and I can't remember the number of female beds open. But that number is not a fair, accurate number of how many beds we actually have.
Yeah,
because of
it's
classification.
Right.
Right. So
right.
truly, we're looking at somewhere in the area of 15 to 20 beds open, maybe even a little bit less, that we can truly, body comes through the front door and booking,
Right.
and we got a place to put them.
Right.
And we're getting ahead of the game. We're starting to talk now. We've been talking for quite some time, but we're really putting the pressure on, okay, what are we going to do when we get to that point? Obviously, the first thing that happens is counties come get your inmates.
Right.
That revenue stream is going to stop.
Right.
So what happens when we get beyond that? We are under, El Dorado County is under basically a self-imposed consent decree, meaning we have a cap. We
Okay.
have a cap that we've agreed with the courts
We can
that
make
we
an X
will not
number.
go over.
Right.
And that can be, people look at that, and actually I used to look at it as not a pain, a hindrance to me and to the operation of the facility. But it's actually a good thing. It is a good thing because it saves the county a lot of money. in lawsuits,
Right.
in issues down the road, much like the state is going through now with this
Right.
this
Right.
issue that they're dealing with. And it was kind of odd in El Dorado County how it actually came about. I believe it was Sheriff McDonald at the time. The jail was filling up, and he saw the issue before it became an issue, and he basically sued himself to create this cap, this
Right.
consent decree. That we will not go over this many inmates
Interesting.
with this many beds under
Right.
this much classification. Period. We can't, or we're going to get sued. So, some of the things we are looking at is electronic monitoring.
Right.
That, to me, is one of the best tools we have if it's used properly. If it's not just blown off, it's no big deal.
This
Yeah,
would
they
be
got
your
an ankle
trusty type
bracelet.
of people that
Exactly,
you know,
exactly. And
the best of the worst.
the best of the worst. I like that. The best of the worst. And to go so far as to get the DA on board, and we've been talking about it, to agree that, okay, if an inmate is released as an early release with electronic monitoring to finish out their sentence on a bracelet, on an ankle bracelet, if they don't comply, or if they break the rules, you will hammer them. There needs to be teeth to this.
That's right.
If they cut it off, they get charged with escape, and they go to state. We're not going to play any games.
Right.
This is going to be
You have to put some
truly-
enforcement into
absolutely,
it. Yeah,
absolutely. This is going. These inmates, when they need to understand what a privilege this is to be able to participate in this program.
Right.
And if they abuse it, there needs to be teeth. That's part of the problem with most of our criminal justice system. There's not enough teeth in what we do. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at probation, and they're starting to catch up. They're still behind the eight ball, but part of the AB 109 funding and the budget for that was set aside for a CCC, Community Corrections Center. And part of that Community Corrections Center with probation is a day reporting center. So some of the best of the worst
Right.
can actually be released. They have to check in daily. They
Right.
have to do all this stuff and whatnot and comply. And again, if they fail, there needs to be some teeth to it.
Right.
But we're already looking ahead at all these different programs, roundtable, and looking at other agencies, looking at what works, looking at what doesn't work. But we're dealing with it.
Yeah.
We're dealing with it. You know, the governor is fighting this tooth and nail. I don't see any way that the state prison system can reduce 10,000 by December. It's
That's a big
it's
number.
No win. It's
Yeah.
a very big number,
Yeah.
and he knows that.
Right.
And CDCR knows that. BSCC, the Board of State Community Corrections, knows that, and that's why they're fighting and filing every possible writ and motion that they can to get the Supremes to stand up and say, wait a minute, there needs to be a happy medium in here to make this work.
Right.
And he'll continue to do so. He's pretty much given his word that he will do what he can to make sure that he doesn't have to open the doors.
Have we started to look at building more prisons?
No, not yet.
Okay, so that
Now
still
here's
hasn't happened.
here's I don't know if we talked about this the other day. But,
think we just touched on it a little
Scott Jones's plan, the Sacramento plan. Did we talk about that?
We just hit it
Just
towards the end. Yeah,
vaguely.
so let's talk about it again.
That was that's a big component of his plan that he came up with. He's a smart guy, and he's dubbing it the Sacramento plan. And of course, it has absolutely gained no legs down in the legislature because of the makeup of our legislature right now.
Right.
But it makes a lot of sense, and one of the component in there is new beds, paid for by freezing the growth formula in the AB 109 funding stream. AB 109 pays us so much a year, constitutionally now. It pays us so much a year. And in that formula and in that funding stream, revenue stream, there is a growth formula. Every year it goes up so much, it goes up so much, it goes up so much. His proposal freezes that growth formula. Says, okay, what you got this year is what you're going to get down the road.
Okay.
But it's going to take that growth formula that is already funded. It's already allocated in the state's budget. takes that money and uses it for new beds.
Okay.
Now, something else that actually,
We just lost you, John. Hang on.
you just lost me.
Here we go.
You back on?
Yeah.
Let me put this up here.
Let's take a look. Sorry, folks. Technical. We need batteries.
We need batteries.
It never fails. We'll keep talking for right now, and we'll get the batteries going real quick. But
One thing that, can you hear me on your mic?
yeah.
Yeah, let me see.
Get rid of those suckers.
One thing that has been just recently, and it was actually my wife Janine, we were talking about some of the
you
issues.
are. Yep.
And I'm going to start talking to some of the folks that I know down at the legislature, our assemblyman and senator. Something that I believe will work and I believe could have bipartisan support. A big issue that we have in jails, in custody facilities, both state and county jails, are the mentally ill, dealing with the mentally ill. In a lot of ways, state prisons and county jails have become mental holding facilities, whether we like it or not.
Right.
And we all know this is one thing that Reagan did that I don't so much agree with. I love the man. He's a hero, a great communicator. But one of the things that he did during his term as governor was he was one of the main persons responsible for the reduction in mental health facilities in the state of California.
Yeah.
And I think that at that time there was, and I haven't researched it enough to really know for sure, but what I have found out and what I have read and researched so far, there was a lot of pressure at that time. It was about the time the movie The One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest came out. There was a lot of concerns about the treatment of the mentally ill and the patients and the conduct of the orderlies and the doctors and things like that.
Right.
The meds that were being used, the style of treatment that was being administered. I think that if the state of California looked at some way to fund mental health beds, to get back into some mental health hospitals, run correctly. Now, it would take some deregulation on some of the regulation that has come about in the last 40 years to make it work, I believe. But if the state of California not only focused on building more jail beds, as that argument we had, as the population has increased, we have more knuckleheads, therefore we need more place to put knuckleheads.
Right.
But also to go back and revisit the mental health issue that came up with, it crosses boundaries, not only with the custody issue, but also with the gun issue. We've had those talks. You know, the state doesn't have a gun control issue; it's got a mental health issue.
Right.
And the state could come up, figure out a way to come up reasonably, not create a whole nother bureaucracy and spend only 10% gets to the patients, but do a real good program to get some new facilities for mentally ill, mental health patients. That I think that would alleviate not a large portion, but a significant portion of inmates.
So I'm assuming there must be studies now showing that, you know, we've got people with mental illness that are in a prison of some type or a state facility of some type that really do need the help. They're probably not getting the help and would be better suited in a mental facility.
I believe so.
It's interesting. Yeah, I can see that. Because you can see in the homeless community alone, you can see a large number of people with mental illness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, so we need to do something
But I
about
don't give
that,
myself the credit for that. I say I give my wife the credit for that because, by God, that was her idea.
Right.
And I'm just running with it.
Yeah.
But it does make sense. And like I said, I believe it would garner bipartisan support.
Right. Well, maybe something will come of it.
Maybe something will come of it.
Yeah,
We'll
it's going to
see.
take a lot of work, and it's not going to happen overnight. But we got to look for the future.
We got to look for the future because the bottom line is realignment. And I've said it before, is not a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for the long term, and we need it. we need to have these other solutions.
Yeah, I agree. We didn't like that one at all. How about how are we doing on a new sheriff's facility? Anything moving on that?
Yes, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Taking
Right.
our time. We're not jumping the gun on anything because I don't want to have what happened 3 times before, and that is that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
The county's needs facility is pretty much wrapped up. I think I mentioned that, and one of the good things that came out of that from the county was not only the fact that the county has recognized that they need a deferred maintenance plan, and they need to take care of the assets that they have so
Right.
they don't end up in the disrepair that they are now. But the main thing that came out of it, from my standpoint, is the evaluation of the El Dorado County Sheriff's headquarters.
Right.
And it was, don't put another dime into that facility; it's a waste of money.
Right.
Just the cost to bring it up to standards on everything
Right.
is 67% of the estimated cost for a new facility.
Wow.
So it's not cost effective.
Right.
So our own internal needs facility is wrapping up. Matter of fact, I'm hoping today I get my draft report. It's been any day for the last week and a half, so hopefully I will get it soon. We are, like I said, moving forward, taking baby steps. I believe I have the political will of the county. I believe that they know. They told me, yep, we get it.
If anybody goes in your building, they know.
They don't get it.
No, they do.
They
do
get it
get
when they
it.
go in and they see it.
They know it. Yeah.
So we have, like I said, the board is on board, I believe.
Yeah.
They understand the predicament we're in. They understand the money we're spending on the offsite facility leases, $330,000
A lot of money.
$337,000 a year, spread out and to me, I mean, the most important thing is the service that we provide to the community. That's the most important thing. That's our core function. And the inefficiencies in business in operations because of that separation, to me is huge. That's it's a killer.
Right.
It's a killer. Detectives aren't talking to deputies daily.
Right.
My finance staff is across the parking lot. We're not in constant. Things need to jive. Things need to gel. They need to move. They need to flow, and they're not. That, to me, that's the worst part.
Well, it's because you have them spread all over the place.
It's the worst part. So we are moving forward. Like I said, hopefully I will have that draft, our own facilities needs study, and that's going to give us what we need.
Right.
This is where you are. This is where we are as a county today. This is the services that we provide. This is what you would need, industry standard, to provide the service level that you're providing now. Now, I would like to have, and I've mentioned this before, a 30, 40, 50-year building. That's very, very difficult to forecast. Nobody has a crystal ball. So you do the best you can. You use all the statistics that you can. You use the census information.
Right.
You use anything that you can to get that information to give you any type of idea of where we are going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. And then when you build your facility, you build a facility that's engineered and designed so that you can grow and that you can change. You don't lock yourself into one single thing.
So that you have some forethought of the future.
Yeah. And of course, we have many architects have gotten word that in that industry, in the public safety design and architecture industry, have gotten word that we're doing it. Of course, they're reaching out, the vendors, wait, we can do this, we can do that.
Yeah.
So the next step, obviously, is what we need. We at some point in all this process, we're going to need to decide on a site. I'm going to leave that. We're going to have somebody else totally independent do that, so that nobody can point the fingers at me. And I don't want to go through what the board's been going through for the last 2 decades over real estate issues. We actually have a plan that we will get around all that. And hopefully it will be a model for the county to use down the road, that it keeps the politics out of it.
Right.
It's going to be based totally on objective facts and statistics and needs, what we need. It's not going to be based on, well, I like that guy or anything like that. It's going to be, this is what we need, this is what we're looking for, infrastructure, land area, what type of technology is already there or close by.
Right.
What's the traffic flow pattern, how close is it to the major artery, obviously Highway 50. All those things will be taken into account when this independent site selection committee finalizes down to 2 or 3, 5 different sites.
Right.
Once we have all that, and I mentioned we come up with that magic number, the number of what it would cost for say a 30-year lease purchase buyback. I would rather not have the county have anything to do with the building part of it, because it will any little piece that they touch will extend the time frame months.
Yes, it will. As San
can,
Francisco is finding out right now.
Yeah, any independent company that we could that the county could contract with to come in and do a design, build, lease, purchase, buyback, they could probably do it in a year, 18 months. The county would take 10.
Yeah.
So once we have that magic number, we jive that magic number, annual cost, debt service, and everything, with the savings incurred, and we know we can make it happen. It's going to happen because we can save a gob of money.
Yeah.
Once we show those numbers jive and the county buys off, boom, we get to go ahead, they make the votes, and we build a facility. So, but we're taking our time purposely. We're doing it slow, because once we get to the point where the first shovel goes in the ground, it's going to be get her done.
That's right. Full steam ahead.
Get her done.
That's right. That's great. So, well, that's, and unfortunately, the good side is that, you're working on it, but so has all the previous sheriffs been working on it, and so hopefully we can see it done.
I believe,
in a
and I'm not
reasonable amount of
dogging
time.
them, I'm not saying they had a different style, but I believe that nobody has gone into the weeds and done the figurative foundation work
that needed to be done,
that we have done,
present
that wasn't done before.
Right. And of course, you always have those detractors in the county that always complains about anything that the county does, and you have to deal with those guys too. And
Anything in this business, you're not going to make everybody happy all the time.
No, and that's politics too. People just get really, really silly with some of this stuff. So I don't know. Well, you know what? We're down to 2.5 minutes. Do you have anything that you wanna talk about that's on your mind? You'd like to get out?
Folks, write your legislators. These gun laws, write the governor. Write
it's the
email,
governor
call
now.
the governor. These gun laws. I lost sleep last night. I was stressing last night. I probably got 2 hours of sleep. I was up reading the Constitution. I'm up reading the laws. I'm up reading some of the bills. It's scary. It's not good.
Yeah, as if you guys were to look at what is passed through the legislature, and it's going to be on the governor's desk, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are definitely going to go to the governor that were passed last night. We've got the lead ammo ban.
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven they're talking about. That's going to be on the governor's desk. We've got... we have the ammunition permit and registration bill. I just love this one, folks. I mean, we know that bad guys are all going to go and pay their $50 permit fee per year so they can go to a store and buy their ammunition. This also stops internet sales. So, we'll be going to Reno more often and Shoals and other places to buy our ammo. I mean, it's just stupid. And then we got SB 374. Now, this one's the real night money.
But go back to what you just said. If you do that, you're going to be a criminal.
Well, believe it or not, the law doesn't say that you can't go out of state and bring ammunition in. There's nothing in that law that says that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Right now, the way the law is written is that if you want to buy ammunition in California, you're going to have to pay a $50 fee to get a permit that's good for a year. So, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So, the other one, SB 374, this was on the bans all centerfire detachable magazines for rifles. All.
Grandfathered in anything?
Nothing grandfathered in. If you have a high cap now, you will have to get rid of it. Even if it's legal. Even if you owned it prior to January 1, 2000.
They're unenforceable. There's millions of them out there. It's unenforceable.
I'm just telling you, I mean, I'm like you. I'm losing sleep over this. I'm hoping and praying that Governor Brown has some common sense on some of this stuff, and
And
you know,
I and my peers need to draw the line. We need to draw the line in the sand and say enough is enough.
I agree. We all do. So we got to make sure that we keep saying, hey, you know what? The laws won't work anyway. We can't enforce what we have. Enough is enough. John, once again, I want to thank you for coming and being here with Crime Beat with that. And hey, everybody out there, thank you for watching Old Guy Tech TV and being and having Sheriff DeAugustini with us. Next time, give us some more calls. Tom, thanks for calling. Appreciate it. And I can't beg more than I'm doing. We need some donations. We need some help to keep this show on the air. Please go to the website and donate. It doesn't matter if it's $1, $10, $5, whatever it be. We'd like to be going forward for the next year or so and really need your help. So donate, donate, donate. Thanks for watching. This is Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV. We'll catch you next time.